Hi everyone, it's Elaine Hamilton from the Reiki Center, and in this video we're going to explore the self-attunement and what is going on with Reiki. So my feeling is that over the past 10 years, but I would say definitely an acceleration through COVID and afterwards, there's been a lot more capacity for us to take healing and really bring it in for ourselves. Now, that capacity for self-healing has always been there. Reiki is all about self-healing, placing your hands on your body, going into a nice, deep, meditative, rejuvenating experience with Reiki, with the mindset of the Reiki itself being an energy that is external. So it's kind of like you're pulling it in, you're pulling in universal life force. And remembering that Reiki simply means universal energy, universal life force. And often when we look at Reiki, we look at it as a bridge. So, it's like our hands form a bridge between the external, balanced, natural energy that is available in the universe around us and our own internal body systems that often get quite blocked and resistant and contracted. And it's that contraction that then creates a lack of awareness or a lack of harmonization with the energy around us. And if you just think little things like you go out into a forest, in Japan they call it forest bathing, where you go out and you commune with the nature around you with the desire to get healing, to get more harmonized, more balanced. And you will notice this yourself. For some of you, when you go to the beach, when you're out in nature, you feel different, you feel better, you feel more rejuvenated than when you are just sitting in a man-made environment, whether that's sitting in your house, sitting in the office, where there's a lot of other contractions that are going on as well, such as electronics. And it's almost like every time we go into our heads, into our mental capacity. So, I mean, many of us have that experience of scrolling through TikTok for hours and you come off it and you feel not good. The body doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel balanced. And so that often when we're doing that day in, day out, we'll start to create a very deep contraction within the system. So when we're in the mental activity, it creates contraction. And when we're out and we're not thinking so much and we're just allowing the nature around us to envelop us, to assimilate within us, we feel more open, more balanced, more healthy. And that's really where the healing happens. So a self-attunement is simply tuning in to the universal energy. And essentially, that's what we're doing when we go to a Reiki class. Essentially, what's happening is the Reiki teacher or Reiki master is helping you to shortcut that tuning in. So the reason we call it an attunement is because it is a tuning in process. And so back in the day, it was one of those things that it's simply a shortcut mechanism that myself as a Reiki teacher can help you to increase, I don't like the word increase your vibration, open your vibration into what is already available. Now, what's happened is because Reiki has become so prevalent, like there's so many millions of us doing it now, it's in the media, the online, I think the online courses has opened up a whole new energetic field around Reiki that has really allowed our capacity and also the interest in general in self-healing. Like it's everywhere now, it's kind of like it's such a big buzzword. And then you have people like Eckhart Tolle, people like Adyashanti, like Muji, who are talking about a much deeper sense of spirituality and connection, of oneness. And so there's a lot of energy now around this communion or this opening. And this idea that we are simply a separate self bumping into other separate selves and going around our very lonely little existence. For many of us, that just doesn't ring true. anymore. It's just not good enough. It's like, that can't be it. And for so many of us, as a species, we're no longer in the survival mode. Like for most of us, we earn enough money, we have enough support and resources around us that we don't have to spend every single minute of our lives thinking about how we're going to survive, how we're going to get enough food, how we're going to get enough shelter. And so there is a lot more capacity now for us to think, okay, so am I content? Am I able to really feel like I'm leading a fulfilling life? And for many of us, that answer is no, because we go externally and we try and look for things and we try and hit the next goal, hoping that will make us happy or content, and it doesn't. So Reiki has this amazing capability. And remember, Reiki just being universal energy. So all of the energy and the flow and the life force around us is really available for us to merge and become at peace with it. So when we are in flow, when we are content, when we are happy, actually, there is a certain, everything is going right for us. And what I mean by that is, in our mind, we think, oh, everything's going right because this is happening and that's happening and all these external things are happening. But actually, what's happening is we are in flow with the environment. So often you can be happy in the simplest of situations. You're on holiday, you're lying on the beach, and there's just nothing to do. You are being for the first time in a long time. You're simply being. And there's that very different sense of rightness. And that is essentially what contentment is. It's being in the moment, being with everything exactly as it is, not needing to change anything, not having the mind think, oh, this isn't right, that's not right, I need to do this, need to do that. So when we talk about Reiki self-attunement, really all we're talking about is a willingness to open to exactly what is in the moment. And the intention. So in a lot of ways, people say, well, that's meditation or mindfulness. But there's an extra little bit. And this is something that I kind of invite people to experiment with. If you are a meditator or you do mindfulness practice, then do that and just focus on the mindfulness, on the meditation. And then at some moment where you feel peaceful, where the mind is calm and you feel open, invite the Reiki in. And that's an intentional thing. So you're inviting that universal energy to come in and help you to harmonize, to relax, to release, to heal whatever it is that needs balancing, healing, needs to be seen, needs to be released, whatever it is. Whatever it is we're contracting around, we're resisting, because you can be guaranteed that if we were completely open and just completely allowing everything exactly as it is right now, we wouldn't be suffering, because suffering is that contraction. We feel it in our body as a contraction. Like maybe you get tight in the chest or your mind, or you get a headache, or your stomach starts to scrunch around things. There are very physical sensations in the body, tension, pain, contraction, that show us that we are kind of resisting something in the moment, that we're not allowing it to be exactly as it is, that there's a should in there somewhere, that we're not liking the way things are going. There's something where we're feeling a no, I don't want this, I don't like this, it shouldn't be like this. That's essentially a resistance or a contraction. And that will create suffering. It will create pain. Because when you try and resist the universe, it's gonna hurt. It's like, duh. So the self-attunement is essentially bringing it just one step closer. So instead of, and I'm not saying don't go to a Reiki class, please. If it resonates with you to go to a Reiki class, please go to a Reiki class, because they're fabulous and you'll learn so much more. Like a self-attunement is essentially for those who want to experience their own empowerment and their own ability to pull in the energy for themselves and work with it for themselves. And ultimately, you need to do that, because whatever a Reiki teacher tells you, whatever the philosophy of Reiki is, whatever any spiritual practice tells you, it's simply the opinion or philosophy of the teacher. And ultimately, you can only balance yourself within your environment. No one else can do it for you, and nobody else's philosophy or experience or truth is yours. It's just not. We're all unique, really unique. We're all going through this journey alone in that sense. Like, we have to figure it out on our own. Like, what is it that we are out of harmony with? Only we can know that. And so a belief system or something I'm resisting might not be the same thing. Well, definitely won't be the same thing as what you're resisting, because we have different life experiences. So it's just impossible to follow someone else's philosophy and think that that's going to fix everything for you, because it's not. The only thing that is going to fix everything for you is when you come into contact with your own resistance to your own thought patterns and beliefs, and then harmonize, release, relax, open to the perfection of what is right now. And so that is your own journey. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It is your own journey. So ultimately, the self-attunement is the only way truly forward. And this is where we are. This is where we are. I mean, it's incredible to me that Reiki has now got itself to this point where it's like, yep, you can really do this for yourself. And this whole idea of self-empowerment and self-help and self-worth and self, in essence, is very ripe right now. And it's everywhere. You know, everybody's talking about it. But essentially, when I say self, I'm not talking about self, the ego. I'm maybe that in the beginning, but essentially it's about your own opening into what is around, and for you to slowly, maybe not slowly, but for many people it's a slow process of unhooking all of the beliefs, all of the resistance, all of the shoulds and goods and woulds, and just resting in what is, what actually is. So enough blah, blah, blah. The self-attunement is super simple. The process that I use is a kind of opening. And I have to say, I've been playing around with this, so I suggest that you do as well. I started opening around the crown and then breathing in and then out through the hands, because that's traditionally the way an attunement kind of works. So I've been untangling my own, what do you call it? Like attachment to the attunement that I've been doing for 30 years. You know, it's difficult to untangle from something that is so deeply sacred and ingrained in my own system. But you guys, because you don't have that same entrainment, you can experiment with it a variety of different ways. The key thing, though, is to actually call in intentionally, to call in the Reiki, to ask for the Reiki to become present, to become known, to become active in your own system. And then if you play around with this, you'll see it is a different quality to meditation and mindfulness, because there's a slightly different focus. Like when we're being mindful, we're not calling in anything. And I think this is often why in Vipassana meditation, for example, they're like, don't do Reiki, because Vipassana is all about allowing everything to be exactly as it is. So when you start calling in something like Reiki, there is an intention, there's a direction. So it's a bit more, I guess, like relaxation or guided meditation, whereby you are intentionally doing something. So there's a doingness to this. And again, that may ultimately have to fall away as well. But right now, when you are trying to work through certain resistances, it can be quite useful to be active in that. Because if you just go, oh, everything just is as it is, and I'm looking at my resistance, and that's fine, and everything is fine. Then you get into this tricky ground of going, well, if everything's fine, I don't need to take any action. I don't need to get rid of my resistance. I can just hold on to it. And of course you can, but it doesn't then move you into more openness. So it's this real fine balance between being open, but then also seeing that you're doing this and having a willingness to open, because otherwise, yeah, you can be really super uptight and you can be super, entangled with the world and feeling very separate, but also knowing that everything is fine. But then you just end up being a bit of a jerk, And there's lots of gurus that can attest to this. Plenty of gurus, deeply spiritual, but just like messed up as not nice people. And so I think there is a place for us to be opening and working and deliberately, consciously, intentionally trying to be better people as well, kinder, more compassionate, more loving, more open. There's no harm in that, right? So there is this balance. So it's not mindfulness, because mindfulness is essentially allowing everything to be exactly as it is. There is an intention, and that intention is to bring in the harmony, deliberately bring in the harmony. And then the mindfulness does come into play. Like, where is the resistance? What am I resisting? What thoughts am I contracting around? And where do they come from? Are they even mine? Most of our thinking and our patterns and our behaviors are simply learned. They're just habits. Our parents said this, our teacher said this, our friend said this, and we're just taking it all in. And often with Reiki, one of the things that really starts to happen is you start to question, who am I? Like, what's my personality? What's my inner desires? What's my wishes? What do I like? What do I want? And it's incredible, particularly if you're empathic, how difficult these questions actually are, because we tend to orient ourselves from childhood. Very early on, we start orienting ourselves to the needs of others. And in that way, there is a very good excuse when you do that, empaths. It means you don't have to really consider the deeper issue of who am I? Because you just go around, help, your role and your job becomes helping everybody else. And so that builds a certain resistance, a certain martyrdom, a certain, like, it's not fair. I never, everyone's so selfish except me. But on the other side of that coin, there is a laziness to that, because you're just like, oh, well, I'm just going to help everyone else. I just do everything for everyone else. And I don't have to think about me. I don't have to think about who I am, what my beliefs are, what my truth is. Doesn't matter, because you're so busy helping everyone else. So be careful with empathic behavior, because it's a real double-edged sword. So there's a benefit. There's a reason why you're empathic, and it's easier. There's a reason why it's easier just to help everyone else. And a little nudge of that, when you're alone and you have nothing to do, there's almost a panic. There's there's anxiety that starts to come up, because you don't know what to do with yourself, just you. And that's not a harmonic way to live. A harmonic way to live is whether you're helping others, whether you're sitting on your own, whether you're, whatever you're doing, there's a freedom to it. And there's a relaxed sense of well-being and wholeness to whatever it is, whatever situation you find yourself in. There's an okayness with everything, even when it's quite painful. It's like, okay, this is what's here now. And there's a certain clarity to that. So I've gone on a bit longer than I was expecting. And I never really know when I turn on the video, just all this stuff comes out of my mouth, and I'm just like, okay, I guess that's where we're going. So let's try the attunement. So this is a little bit longer than the 5-minute one. So what we'll do is we will do the attunement, the calling it in, and we'll do it 2 ways. So we will bring it in through the crown, right? And then, but then we'll also try a bit of a breathing exercise where we're just breathing it in. And then we'll do another 5 minutes of just meditating in the wholeness, in the universal Reiki energy, just so that you get a sense of that as well. And you can just start here and you can just repeat this part of the video going forwards as well. Okay, so just very gently coming into a seated position that is supported and just starting to settle yourself. Just starting to notice the weight of your body in the chair. Hopefully your back is relatively straight. Bringing your attention down to the feet. Just noticing the grounding. So noticing the floor. And often that sparks a certain feeling of heaviness or sensations, tingling. And actually those sensations are simply you becoming aware of the activity, the pressure. And then very gently bringing your focus to the breath. And with every exhale, you just allow the body to relax and sink deeper in the chair. And if you like, you can bring your hands into Gassho, prayer pose, in front of your heart center. And often as you do this, there is a feeling of sacredness. You are inviting the universal life force, the Reiki, to become very present. With intention, you're inviting Reiki to help you to harmonize and balance. And if you imagine 1,000-petaled lotus at the top of your head, your crown, and imagining that it is opening. And as it opens, it allows your personal energy to open as well, inviting in the Reiki energy, the Reiki attunement to come in through the crown as you breathe it in into the heart center, the chest, the lungs. And you start to focus the out-breath of the energy coming down through the arms into the hands, the fingers. And as you focus your attention around the hands and fingers, again, you might notice different sensations, tingling, heat, even a cooling sensation, vibrations, and sometimes nothing. Not all of us are energetically sensitive, and that's perfectly fine. And then whenever you're ready, bringing your hands down onto your laps, but having your palms on your thighs so that the energy can also flow from the hands into the legs. And spending a few moments just noticing this interaction. There might be sensations you can feel in your hands. There may be sensations in the legs, in the thighs. Just noticing. And then the second way of bringing in or inviting Reiki into the system, instead of coming in through the crown, it's more a process of opening your entire body system. And the way we do this is as you inhale, imagine that all of the skin, all of your cells, your entire body is almost like transparent. It's etheric. It's not solid. And physics tells us this is actually true. There's very little of us that is matter. Most of us is made of energy. And as we inhale, you invite the Reiki to come through every single cell, or the pores, or the atoms. As you exhale, you'll just allow the body to fully relax, all the cells to relax. So there's this feeling of being very light, very expansive, as if you're merging with the environment, you, the air, the room, all one thing. And when you do this, you might notice certain parts of the body are in resistance, tension, pain. Feels like as you're breathing in the Reiki, there's certain areas of the body that are not open. And that's fine. There's no judgment. It's just showing you what's locked up, what's resisting. And you're simply observing. So here we bring in the mindfulness. Everything is exactly as it should be because it is. It simply is. And as you gently bring focus to these parts of your body, it may shift and it may not. It may tighten up. And this is all simply information for you. If you notice emotions coming up, you imagine those emotions to be simply sensations, feeling into them, noticing them. Whatever wants to be harmonized can be felt. And through feeling them, you allow them to release. And you continue to use the breath. And as you breathe in, the Reiki comes flowing in. As you breathe out, the Reiki goes through all the cells, out through the skin, into the aura, into the energy field around you. And you're simply allowing yourself to become harmonized with the environment, with the air. The air itself supports you. It's full of vibrancy and life. The chair supports you, the floor, the gravity. And noticing yourself, your awareness. Without the thoughts, even if there are thoughts. Notice that you can see those thoughts as separate or different to you. When you really start to pay attention to that awareness, the one who's listening to my voice, the one who's noticing the thoughts or the sensations. Just feeling into that level of peace and calm that is already there. You don't have to search for it. And notice also the harmony is already there. When we open to it, when we stop resisting, when we simply allow everything to be exactly as it is in this moment, then suddenly the peace becomes available. And allowing the body, if it wants to move, if you're breathing, sometimes people notice a deep sighing, yawning, an impulse to move the body or stretch. Just allowing these, following these, anything that allows the body to open, trusting your innate wisdom knows exactly what to do for your healing. And you can continue in this space as long as you wish. Or you can just very gently start to bring your attention to deepening the breath so that you're noticing the movement in the belly, in the chest. You may even gently move your spine, wiggle your fingers and toes. Whenever you're ready, gently opening your eyes. So I hope that that gave you an indication of the availability of this incredible resource of life force. It's right here. It's right under our noses, everywhere. It's within us, it's outside of us, it's in the air. And it's available not only in nature. I mean, I use nature as a very simple example because essentially it is easier in nature to get that healing. But we're sitting in the room, we're doing this wherever you are, and you can do this anywhere. You can do this when you're commuting to work, not when you're driving. Probably wouldn't recommend that. But if you are being commuted, if you are being driven, then this resource is here for you always. And my recommendation is that you just start doing this. And if in the beginning some guidance is helpful, I do have a Reiki for self-care course, a short course, but that has 6 meditations in it. And obviously these resources, I try and put on as many meditations as I can and will continue to build that. So please subscribe if you haven't already. And obviously every time you like something or comment, it helps other people find me as well. So thank you so much for that. I hope you enjoyed this session and see you soon. Take care.